Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly felt something shift in the air? It's as if the temperature drops slightly, the laughter that was there moments ago fades, and the eyes start to avoid yours. No one needs to say anything. The atmosphere speaks for itself. It's a heavy silence, an unease you feel without understanding where it comes from. Many people try to dismiss this kind of situation, thinking it's all in their head, that they're overreacting or being too sensitive. But the truth is, the human body is a radar for energy. It picks up on what words conceal. And there are people who simply don't like you, not because you did something wrong, but because your presence stirs something in them they can't handle. Today, we're going to talk about this. Let's identify together the signs that someone just doesn't vibe with you, even if they try to hide it. It might feel harsh at first, but understanding these signs is liberating. Because when you see the truth, you stop wasting energy trying to be accepted by someone who never wanted to understand you. You learn to choose better where to place your affection. First sign: unexplained discomfort. Have you ever noticed how some people seem irritated by everything you do? It's as if your mere existence is enough to cause them unease. The sound of your laugh, the way you express yourself, even how you sit or move can seem to bother them. Suddenly everything you do becomes a reason for criticism, a side-eye or a snarky comment. And the curious thing is, most of the time, you haven't done anything. There's been no argument, no fight, no misunderstanding. It's as if the mere brightness of your presence overshadows something in them. This kind of irritation isn't about you. It's about them. It's a reflection of their internal discomfort, their insecurities, and unresolved feelings. When someone isn't at peace with themselves, they project onto others what they don't want to face within. So the next time someone seems bothered by your joy, remember, it's not the sound of your laughter that hurts their ears. It's the echo of what they've lost, the lightness of being themselves without needing to hide. Second sign: formality disguised as politeness. Have you ever noticed how some people talk to others in a relaxed, natural, spontaneous way, but when they're with you, they seem to freeze? They choose their words carefully, avoid nicknames, and maintain an almost calculated distance. It's as if they use politeness as a shield. They smile out of obligation, keep a neutral tone, and avoid any hint of closeness. This excessive formality isn't respect, it's defense. It's a subtle way of saying, I don't want to get close. And the worst part is, if you're not paying attention, you might think everything's fine because the person is polite. But there's a difference between politeness and disguised coldness. Someone who truly cares about you speaks with ease, laughs genuinely, allows themselves to be natural. But someone who wants to keep their distance builds an invisible wall of polished words and restrained gestures. And yes, you feel it. The conversation flows with everyone else, but with you it feels like an interview. When there's discomfort, the body speaks, and the silence between the words says far more than any well-crafted sentence. Third sign: disinterest masked as distraction. Have you ever noticed when someone never seems to remember what you say? You talk, share, open up, and the person seems to be there only in body. They don't ask questions, show curiosity, or respond with empathy. The next week, if you bring up the same topic, they don't recall it. It's as if every conversation with you is forgotten as soon as it ends. This kind of behavior is one of the clearest signs of a lack of connection. Because when we care about someone, we pay attention. We hold on to details, remember stories, root for them. When there's no feeling, the attention dissolves. And even if they try to cover it up with excuses like, oh, I've just been so busy, the disinterest is noticeable. It's that feeling of talking to a wall, of trying to build a bridge the other person doesn't even want to cross. And the most painful part is that, over time, you start doubting your own worth, thinking you're boring, inconvenient, or overbearing. But you're not. The problem is you're trying to plant affection in barren soil. Fourth sign: the absence of physical contact. Gestures of affection are the purest language of human connection. A touch on the arm, a hug, a handshake, a simple pat on the shoulder. These are subtle ways of saying, I'm here. But when someone doesn't like you, these gestures vanish. Their body recoils before their mind even registers it. You step closer, and they step back, creating a distance that's almost imperceptible but that your heart feels. It's as if their body is shouting what their mouth would never dare admit. I don't want to be near you. And the curious thing is, this physical rejection doesn't need to be overt. Sometimes it's just a step back, crossed arms, a gaze that avoids yours. These are small gestures that, when added up, create an invisible barrier. And the more you try to get closer, the more they close off. This happens because physical contact carries energy, and someone who can't stand your presence naturally rejects any exchange. Understanding this isn't about accepting the distance. It's about respecting your own emotional space. You don't need to force bonds that the other person's body has already rejected. Fifth sign, the difference in behavior with you versus others. Few things are as revealing as observing how someone acts with others and then comparing it to how they act with you. Sometimes it's someone who laughs loudly, talks to everyone, is outgoing and attentive, but as soon as you arrive, the tone changes. The smile fades, their body stiffens, the spark in their eyes disappears. Suddenly you're facing a cold, distant, almost mechanical version of them. And it's in this contrast that the truth lies, because no one can sustain a mask all the time. The way someone behaves in your presence reveals what they feel, even if they try to hide it. And the clearer the difference, the more evident their discomfort. It's not about you doing something wrong, it's about them not knowing how to handle their own dislike. You stir something in them they don't want to face, and instead of acknowledging it, they respond with coldness. Realizing this hurts, but it also sets you free, because when you accept that you're not welcome in certain places, you stop trying to fit where there's no room. You understand that you don't need to prove your worth to someone who's already decided to reject you, and that realization changes everything. Sixth sign, the lack of reciprocity. Perhaps the most painful sign of all is when you realize you're always giving more than you receive. You're the one asking, reaching out, trying to stay in touch. You're the one remembering dates, showing interest, caring. And on the other side, silence. Short responses, cold conversations, vague promises. Slowly you start to feel like you're carrying the relationship alone, pushing something the other person doesn't even want to exist. This lack of return drains your emotional energy. You wear yourself out, trying to reignite a flame the other person extinguished long ago. And deep down you know something's wrong, but hope deceives you, making you believe it's just a phase, or that things will get better. But they don't, because the problem isn't the moment, it's the feeling. The person simply doesn't want to be there, and no amount of persistence changes that. When you understand this, the initial pain gives way to something more valuable. Peace. The peace of knowing you don't need to chase someone who never looked your way. The peace of choosing to walk away with dignity, without resentment or drama. Just the quiet acknowledgement that not every connection is meant to last, and sometimes the greatest act of self-love is leaving before the silence expels you. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. Not trying to be accepted by someone who never wanted to understand you. Because in the end, what truly matters isn't who tolerates you, but who embraces you. When you start seeing these signs clearly, something shifts inside you. At first there's pain because it's hard to admit that someone simply doesn't like your presence. The mind tries to justify, make excuses, believe it's all in your head. But with time you realize it's not paranoia, it's perception. Your instincts don't lie. The discomfort you feel is a reflection of the energy the other person emits, and the more you ignore it, the heavier it gets. The truth is, human relationships are built on invisible layers. There are the words, the gestures, the smiles, but there's also what lies beneath, intention. When someone doesn't like you, that intention reveals itself in the details. The glance that avoids you, the overly controlled tone of voice, the forced laugh, the rush to end the conversation. These are signs that, when pieced together, paint a true picture of what they feel. And there's no point in fooling yourself. You can be kind, you can try to please, you can give your all, but nothing changes the heart of someone who's already rejected you, because dislike, when it arises, rarely has logic. Sometimes it's pure projection. Sometimes it's envy. Sometimes it's just the discomfort of seeing someone shine where they feel dimmed. The big mistake is persisting. It's continuing to try to win over someone who doesn't want to be won. It's staying where you've already been silently dismissed. That wears you down. Because every failed attempt chips away at your self-esteem. You start doubting your own essence, thinking the problem is you, and it's not. The problem is the expectation of reciprocity in a place where there's only resistance. And here's a truth that sets you free. You don't need to be liked by everyone. Not everyone will like you, and that's natural. The issue is that most of us were taught to seek approval all the time. We grow up hearing we need to be pleasant, likable, easy to get along with. But no one teaches us that it's impossible to be that for everyone. There will always be someone who can't stand your presence, and that's okay. Learning to deal with this is a sign of emotional maturity. It's when you understand that rejection doesn't define your worth. It's just a reflection of incompatibility. And there's nothing wrong with not clicking with certain people. The mistake is insisting on fitting where there's no match. Think about the times you've noticed the atmosphere change when you arrived. Maybe you felt out of place, uncomfortable, small. Maybe you tried to adjust your behavior, speak less, smile more, mold yourself to please. But what changed? Nothing. Because the problem was never your tone of voice or your way of being. The problem is that the energy between you simply doesn't connect. And that's not a flaw. It's human nature. You know, humans have a powerful intuition. We sense when we're welcome and when we're not. The heart picks up on it before the mind understands. That's why when you're around someone who likes you, everything flows. The conversation is light, time flies, silence doesn't bother. But when the feeling is the opposite, the body reacts. The atmosphere feels heavy, your breath shortens, and you want to leave. That's your instinct protecting you. So the best response to someone who doesn't like you isn't confrontation. It's distance. It's not justifying yourself, proving your worth, or explaining. It's simply stepping away with dignity, because silence is more elegant than any defense. When you withdraw, not out of pride but for peace, you reclaim the power the other person tried to take. And don't think stepping away is weakness. Quite the opposite. It's a sign of wisdom. It's choosing your own energy, because insisting on getting close to someone who doesn't want you around is like trying to light a candle in the wind. You exhaust yourself and still lose the little light you had. Instead, invest in genuine connections, the ones that make your heart feel light, where you can be yourself without fear of judgment. People who rejoice in your joy, who listen to you for real, who look you in the eyes with presence. Those are the bonds worth nurturing. But it's important to say, recognizing that someone doesn't like you doesn't mean hating them. You don't need to harbor resentment. Sometimes they just don't know how to handle what you represent. Maybe your light exposes the shadows they avoid facing. Maybe your authenticity reveals the falsehood they hide. Not every rejection is personal. Sometimes it's just a reflection. And here's the most liberating point. You don't need to change to be accepted. Those who want to see you will see your worth as you are. Those who don't, let them go their own way. Rejection only hurts when you believe you need the other person's approval to be whole. But when you understand that your worth is internal, everything changes. From that moment on, you start to see that the signs of disinterest aren't attacks, they're warnings. The universe showing you where you no longer belong. And when you stop fighting it, you start to walk with more lightness. Because nothing is more exhausting than trying to be accepted where your soul has already been dismissed. So if you notice someone who's irritated by everything you do, who treats you with coldness, who never shows interest, who avoids contact, who changes their behavior when you arrive, who never reciprocates your effort, accept the sign. It's not drama, it's not paranoia, it's clarity. And clarity is power. Because when you see clearly who truly wants to be by your side, you protect yourself from frustration. And more than that, you make room for new people to come in. People who vibe on the same frequency, who are happy with your presence, who add rather than drain. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all, understanding that affection isn't begged for. Genuine care doesn't need to be forced. It happens naturally, like the sun that shines without asking permission. When love is real, there's no exhausting effort. There's reciprocity. Learning to identify who doesn't like you is also learning to recognize who does. Because when you take your eyes off those who reject you, you start to see those who have always been there, quietly rooting for you. Life is like that. Sometimes we're so focused on seeking approval where it doesn't exist that we forget to value those who already accept us as we are. And in the end, the secret is simple. Don't insist where there's resistance. Love, friendship, respect, all of these need a two-way street. When only one side tries, the imbalance is inevitable. So choose what makes you feel good. Choose light, sincere, reciprocal relationships. The world is already heavy enough for you to carry people who don't want you around. Free yourself from that. Walk lightly. And if one day you feel that strange silence again, the smile that fades, the gaze that avoids, the cold words, don't blame yourself. Just understand. The discomfort is a reminder that you're trying to stay where you no longer belong. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to leave. Not with resentment, but with gratitude. Gratitude for the lesson, for seeing clearly what was once confusion. Because deep down, these experiences make you stronger. They teach you to value those who truly care about you. For every person who didn't embrace you, you learned the importance of those who welcome you with open arms. For every cold glance, you recognized the warmth of those who love you for real. And that's how life goes. Filtering, selecting, guiding you to the places where you can bloom without asking permission. So, the next time you feel that strange silence when you enter a room, don't rush to change. Breathe, observe, and remember, the discomfort others feel with your presence says more about them than it does about you. Keep being who you are, with authenticity, courage, and truth. In the end, life always rewards those who choose to be genuine. Because masks fall, disguises unravel, but essence remains. And when you live with lightness, you attract the same kind of energy. So don't worry about pleasing everyone. Worry about staying whole. Those who are true will stay. The rest, time will take care of. And if someone doesn't like you, thank them silently. Because maybe without realizing it, they've taught you the greatest lesson of all. That freedom begins when you stop begging for acceptance and start choosing peace.